ignorance and laziness win. That's the lament of the founder of the Apostrophe Protection Society. Yes, there is such a society. His name is John Richardson. What's gotten this crusader who's been championing proper punctuation for the past 18 years to this point? Well, consider these examples. To take this conversation further, in a moment I'll be joined by Dr. Andrew van der Spey, but let me show you the examples that I'm talking about now. Many people get the use of the apostrophe wrong. It's a common mistake. So people write theirs instead of writing theirs with an apostrophe. Ant is usually spelled as aren't. It's usually when people want to say, you know, the short of it is, and instead they say it's, which changes meaning altogether. Isn't instead of isn't there. So the way that that is spelled is critical. Let's see how you should be using the apostrophe then. Let's see the next one. And the proper way then to use it is they plus will becomes they'll. She plus will becomes she'll. And you see the next one there. And lastly, let me show you, there is versus there you are. So the apostrophe there used properly, and John Richardson would be happy. He's been championing this since 2001, the Apostrophe Protection Society. He's given up. He's saying ignorance and laziness win. So let me take this conversation forward then, and Dr. Andrew van der Spey from the Wets Linguistics Department joins me in studio. So thank you so much for joining me. So Andrew, this situation around the use of the apostrophe, does it matter given where we are in terms of language development?
Well, that's quite a complex question. Does it matter? I think it matters when if you leave out the apostrophe, if you get a word that you don't want, like she'll, she apostrophe ll, then you'll end up with shall, and I'll, you'd end up with ill. So that would have a really serious effect on a person reading, because they'll read the wrong word.
Yeah.
But on the whole, the apostrophe really doesn't serve much of a purpose if you look at the main purpose of what spelling is about. Spelling of a language should reflect the sounds of a language. And what the apostrophe does is it actually shows sounds that used to be there and aren't there anymore. So it's actually showing you some history, but it's not showing you how the language is actually spoken at the moment. So when we speak, we say theirs, and we say it's, and there's no apostrophe. You can't hear an apostrophe because there's no sound there. It doesn't represent any sound.
So there was a period in time in the evolution of the language where you could hear that there's an apostrophe here.
You could hear that there was a sound there, but the sound has been omitted. Like the examples that you've given there, they plus will, there the wi has been omitted. But if I say they'll be here soon, you understand me completely easily. There's no misunderstanding. So the apostrophe is really just there in the writing. It's not there in the speech. And if we can manage to do without it in the speech, then there's no real need for it in the writing. The only place where you need it in the writing is where the word suddenly becomes ambiguous, like the examples I gave earlier, like I'll and ill and she'll and shall and he'll and and hell, which could really cause some problems.
So given how flexible we've become with the use of some of these punctuations, especially in the age of social media, is the apostrophe an endangered species? Did John Richardson have cause for concern? He's been at it since 2001. I mean, he's now in his 90s and has decided, and he's throwing his hands in the air and basically saying ignorance and laziness win.
I think you can say that it's an endangered species, but it will take some time before you find that official handbooks of how to spell English and how to write English will actually follow the trend that is being set by young people who are using social media today, like Twitter and so on, where they often ignore the apostrophe because they realize that it's firstly very complex to understand how to use it, and also it's often not necessary.
All right, Andrew, thank you so much for coming through.